Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karel Balak. I'm going to be chairing the meeting. I see we are, well, it's 1 o'clock on the number. We've had about 475 registrations. So I'm assuming we are going to have guys still logging in and out throughout the meeting. It's going to be a fairly large meeting, so I'm assuming we are going to have upwards of 350 participants in the meeting at any time. What I should maybe do is just quickly have a look at the messages. Hi guys, Donovan, Rachel, Francois, everybody's saying hi. We don't have any other. Wayne wants to know, can we ask questions? Wayne, yes, you can. An Honor Ria NX9, that would be a phone. You'd have to, please, guys, it would be nice if you could change your, rename yourself to your actual name so that we know we're talking to. We are going to cover a lot of this info in the introduction. So Honor says, if you install an off-grid system, does all this register affect that system as well? In other words, do you have to register if you go off-grid? We will have that discussion with Eskom and we'll ask them. So Eskom's presentation is going to cover a broad range of questions. We have had questions that were submitted to us prior to today's meeting, and we have submitted those questions to the Eskom team. So they will be covering all of that information as well. Graham, I hear your frustration. Graham White says one of the frustrations is unable to contact them. Yeah, Graham. We are going to be guided through the process and we'll be told what to do. And in the event where it's not possible to reach them, I am sure that the Eskom representatives who will be presenting today will make their contact details available. Okay, guys, let's just see. Do we have Anne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Carl.
Do you know whether the Eskom representatives are in the meeting already?
I am not sure.
Okay, let's just check quickly. Let's just check if Laura is available. Laura. So let's just find Laura. Laura is in. Laura, I can see you are in. That's pretty cool. We are going to escalate your profile to co-host so that it's going to be easy for you to present and access all the toggles. Okay. Guys, Laura is available. And I can't escalate Laura to be a co-host. Would it be possible for you to escalate Laura Christensen to be co-host as well?
Yes, I just did that for us.
Thank you very much. Laura, you should be able to now search under the contacts. You should be able to see if you can find Sipu. I'm sure Sipu is in there. Yeah, Sipu is in the meeting as well. And there is a contact by the name of Sipu Dlamini. If it's possible to make him co-host as well, then we've got everyone that's going to be making presentations. We've given them the ability to manage the chats better.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, it is a couple of minutes, 1:05. I think it's time for us to start. The meeting is being recorded. You would have heard that when you logged in. No, man, don't mute or admit all. Sorry. I wanted to press a button and so maybe I should just close that up. So we are first going to be having a look at the meeting rules and terms of engagement. This is going to be a massive meeting. We're expecting upwards of 350 people in the meeting. I see we already have 330 that have joined. So it's important that we try and keep the meeting orderly. I will not allow guys to just activate their microphones and ask a question in the middle of a presentation. So it's important that we kind of respect the people that are busy presenting, let them finish their presentation, and then we carry on. The next item on the agenda is a welcome and opening. So I'll do a short introduction of myself. I'll do a short intro of AREP. And then we are jumping right into the Eskom presentation. So we don't have a lot of time to waste. This is a short meeting. It's not that short. It's an hour and a half. But with the amount of content that has to be passed over and the amount of information that has to be exchanged, we've kind of got to stay focused and get the job done. Okay. Meeting rules and terms of engagement. So this is a very large meeting. I've mentioned that. I am going to be your chair for the meeting. Annelle is involved with the association and she is going to be monitoring and managing the meeting as well. It would be nice. So I don't want to see any anonymous people in the meeting. If you want to be anonymous and you want to ask a question, you will not be given an opportunity to ask a question. So it would be nice if you can put your name on your profile, then everybody can see who you are and we can address you accordingly. We are going to wait for Eskom to complete their presentation before we open the floor for questions. So if you would like to comment, please raise your hand or put a text in the chat box. It might be good for me to just quickly show you guys what I look like. I think my camera is on. We close that and close that.
Your camera is on.
Thanks, Anne. For some reason now I can't see it. I don't know if I'm having a technology day today. Anyway, and then item 7, behave or be thrown out. We have a very large meeting. In order to keep the meeting orderly, we have to be strict with the rules. I have noticed on social media, the guys getting very aggressive and getting very emotional. Yeah, not yet. Relax, take a breath, and move on. Someone is scratching on my screen. Okay. First of all, who am I? My name is Carl Balak. I'm the president for AREP. I have been involved with solar for a very long time. I imported my first solar panels in the year 2000, and I have been involved on a permanent basis in the solar sector for the last 14 years. I am founder of AREP. Yeah, so guys, you're going to have to mute your microphones, please. I am the founder of AREP. I started the organization a couple of years ago, and I'm also author of the P4 certificate and the Green Card program, the AREP Green Card program. There are 2 quality assurance programs in the solar industry. The one is the PV Green Card, which is hosted by our competitive industry body, SAPVIA, and then the other one belongs to AREP. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to comment on what I think, how I feel about the different platforms. This is just a brief intro. I am also a founder of PQRS. That's what I do on a full-time basis. So that's what keeps the wheels turning. Mariusha Wiggett is our operations director. She unfortunately couldn't make it for this meeting, but Anne is with us. Anne is the accounts manager. And then we have Jocelyn Hill. Jocelyn is a member liaison, and those of you that are members would get a phone call from Jocelyn on a fairly regular basis. So Jocelyn is friendly and nice to talk to, and she always has a lot of questions to ask, and tries to understand what the market is like, where you guys are, and what is busy happening in industry. So as a brief intro, AREP is a non-profit organization registered with the Department of Social Development. We have a membership base of more than 4,700 members, and our membership base grew 30% in 2024. We are the largest solar industry body in South Africa, and we are growing at a rapid rate. We have different types of membership categories. So we have individuals, we have company members, we have founding members. And in this slide, we can see that all of our membership categories or all of our membership tiers showed significant growth during 2024. So AREP is host for the P4 certificate and the Green Card Quality Assurance platform. The platform has a range of tests that candidates are expected to do. All of the tests are online. It's easily accessible, and AREP has the largest number of guys who have written tests under the P4 quality assurance program. We provide a variety of services to a diverse range of members. This is a fairly diverse industry, so we have everybody from installers through to insurers, financiers, manufacturers, original equipment manufacturers, and then some of your second and third tier distributors that are slightly smaller distributors that are all members of AREP. So because our membership range is so diverse, we have a lot of different information that we have access to and that we share with our members. We report on industry data and trends. We share insightful information. Like last year, we had a number of webinars and meetings on prevention and suppression, fire prevention and suppression for solar installations. We engage with the Department of Employment and Labor. Today, we're engaging with Eskom. We engage with distributors of solar PV products, as well as we have a fairly continuous engagement with the SABS on the standards of solar and the standards of installations. Our engagement with the Department of Employment and Labor there is different to necessarily the insightful industry information. So it appears, DOEL appears in the agenda twice because it kind of covers two different aspects of how we relate to the Department of Employment and Labor. For more information, you guys are welcome to visit arep.online. And I have had a couple of questions in the chat box. The meeting is going to be recorded. Guys, once the meeting is recorded on Zoom, it's rendered. Once it's rendered, it can only then be uploaded. And only once it's uploaded can we actually share the link. So the link is not going to be available directly after the meeting. You guys are going to have to give us a day or so just to process the video, process the information, and make sure that it is uploaded properly. Okay, I would like to introduce Laura quickly. Laura, are you in the meeting? So while Laura is finding her way around the buttons, Laura Christensen Wood is the middle manager for marketing operations, and she oversees SSEG registrations. Laura has one or two of her team members with her. Laura is going to be doing the introduction to her team members, and Laura will also introduce herself further to you guys. I'm going to switch off my video quickly, and then Laura, you are welcome to take the floor.
Thank you, Coral. Am I audible?
You are very audible.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I'm just trying to activate my video, but it's not activating.
Yeah,
If that's
that's
okay, if I
okay.
proceed. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Please proceed.
Not a problem. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laura Christensen Wood, and I'm the Marketing Operations Manager at Eskom. I oversee the SSEG registration and portfolio. I'd like to thank the Association of Renewable Energy Practitioners for inviting us to this engagement, and a special thank you to Carl for making all of this happen. It's highly appreciated. Present with me, I have Sipho Dlamini. Sipho is the Acting Energy Services Manager, and Sipho will be walking you through the presentation on the SSEG registration. Once again, I'd like to say thank you, and I look forward to a fruitful meeting and a fruitful engagement. Earlier, I indicated to Carol, I had indicated that I hope that this is not the last meeting. It's one of many to come, and we're here to walk this journey with you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Laura. I believe you guys have a presentation that you'd like to share.
Yes, if you could then guide me, can I hand over to Sipho so that Sipho can then walk us through the presentation?
Certainly. Would Sipho be able to quickly do a short introduction of himself? Maybe Sipho has that in his presentation in any event.
Yeah, he would have.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Laura. Good day, colleagues. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Sipho, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Let me start sharing my screen. And please indicate if you can see my screen, colleagues.
Sipho, at the moment, I can't see your screen at all. I think you have to, once you click share screen, you have to select which of the screens you'd like to share. So it gives you the possibility to choose a number of screens.
Okay, all right.
You can select a screen or a window.
Okay, I've selected the screen. Okay. Let me press share.
There you go.
Okay.
That's good. We can see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, I'm not going to waste any time. I will jump straight to the presentation. What is SSEG? SSEG is the embedded generation with a generation capacity of up to 1 megawatt. Anything beyond that, it follows a different process under IPP, independent power generation. It refers to power generation from renewable or non-renewable sources such as PV systems, small wind turbines, or biomass, which are located on residential, commercial, or industrial sites where electricity is also consumed. Most of electricity generated by SSEG is consumed directly at the site but sometimes the generation sometimes the generation exceed consumption, and the excess energy is exported to the grid. Going to the next slide. Next slide is actually showing us the different types of connection. Let me see if I can put up a laser. Where it has gone forward, yes. So on the left-hand side, it's a grid-tied solar system. A grid-tied solar system, as you can see, here is a utility grid, and here is the solar panel inverters all the way to the house. So grid-tied, it means the solar system is working concurrently with with electricity. As you can see, the power is coming from the utility grid, sorry, and on the other side, we're getting the power from the solar system. That's what we meant by a grid-tied system. On the other side, we have got an off-grid solar PV system, which is also called a standalone system. As you can see here, this is a solar system. It has got the battery bank all the way to the inverter and then optional generator. So there is no sign of Eskom electricity or utility grid. So that's what we call an off-grid solar system. Okay, going back to the grid-tied system, the PV system is connected to the distribution grid. Excess energy generated can be exported back into the grid, and the customer is credited for the energy exported. Going back to the off-grid, the PV system operates completely independent of the national grid. The load will be supplied via batteries. As I've indicated, this one is completely independent, hence it is called a standalone system. Going to the next slide. There are charges.
Yes,
Yes,
can I ask you to click the hide button at the bottom of your screen, please? It's obscuring.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Obviously, if your system is grid tied, you will go ahead and make the application to Eskom to get your system connected to our network. And there are charges involved to get your system connected to our network. And one of the charges is the quotation fee. So the standard quotation fee for SSEG will be charged upfront on the application as per the existing standard charges, just to get your, because when you make an application, we treat it as a project. So to get it registered on the system so that the resources can be allocated to start working on your application. So we treat your application as a project. So it will be before it get registered, a quotation fee must be paid, and then we register out on the system, and then we start allocating the resources to work on your application. The next charges are connection charges. So obviously, a technician will go on site, do some investigation, do the capacity study, and also compile the scope of work. What is it that must be done? So once that is done, and then they send us the cost input to prepare the budget code, and that budget code, it entails the connection fee charges. And then it will be sent to the customer, and then the customer will accept, and then we raise it on the system. And then once it's paid, we take the project forward. Yes, so to cover, like I've already indicated, is to cover the cost of project management, coordination, update of the ENS diagram, site inspection, and the quality assurance. Yeah, basically, to cover the scope of work that would have been compiled by the design technician. Okay, sometimes you find that when the customer is making an application is on a particular tariff. So one of the requirement for this application is that the customer must be on a time of use tariff. If the customer is not on a time of use tariff, then the customer must change the tariff from a normal tariff or a flat rate tariff to a time of use tariff. Then there will be fees involved to change the tariff to a time of use tariff. A tariff conversion fee is a fee payable when the customer converts from one tariff to another and contribute to the cost of work required to amend. Yeah, in short, is exactly what I've explained. It's just to change from a flat rate tariff to a time of use tariff. Going to the next slide. Okay, these are the categories that an application can fall into. The first category, it's the generator, any size from 0 to 350 kilowatt on an LV Eskom supply. This will be a quotation fee. This is the amount that the customer will need to pay upfront to get the application registered on the system so that the resources can be actually allocated and get the project move forward. Another category whereby the generator is larger than 350 kilowatt, up to 1 megawatt. This is the amount that the customer will be charged. The third one, now this one, if the customer is on an MV Eskom supply, no longer LV, it doesn't matter the size of the generator. But if the customer is being supplied at the MV level, this is the amount that will be charged the customer. So the last one, there are no SSEGs that go through this category anymore. So the decision was taken that all the SSEG will go via a minor process, which is way shorter than a major process. So these fees are subject to change based on the approval rate per year. Going to the next slide. There are metering costs involved. The customer must be on the time of use tariff, as I've indicated. If not, the normal tariff conversion process with a quotation in a CAPCON. CAPCON is a tool that you use actually to determine the amount that must be paid by the customer before you put it in the budget code. So with the quotation in a CAPCON will take place to convert the to a time of use tariff and to the applicable meter change cost will be payable. Customers that are already on the time of use metering with the capability of bi-directional reading will only be charged for meter reprogramming cost when non-exporting. However, when exporting, no meter reprogramming cost or meter change cost will be charged if it is required that the time of use meter be changed. Lastly, residential supplies will be charged for metering, whether exporting or not, because there is no additional administration charge on the home flex tariff to cover the cost of bi-directional meter reprogramming. Going to the next slide. Continuing with metering cost. Customers currently on 4-quadrant smart metering on prepaid mode will need to convert to conventional billings, as the current system is not able to accommodate the time of use and export of energy. So customers on prepaid will be needed to change to conventional billing. It's one of the requirements. If the customer paid to convert to prepaid, you understand that some of the customers has paid to move from conventional to prepaid. So in that case, no meter replacement cost will be charged to that customer. However, if the prepaid metering was not paid for, then the customer will be charged metering replacement cost. Going to the next slide. Okay, these are the options for the SSEG connection. A customer can opt for own use. Own use meaning energy produced by the generator is used by the customer and there is no export to the grid. But still, the customer must be on the time of use tariff. Another option is offset tariff, where there is import and export at the same time, meaning the customer will be generating their own electricity via the PV system, consume, and also export to the grid. So, for instance, maybe you are generating more than what you need, so you can opt to export to the grid. In that case, the customer receives credit on exported energy monthly. Another option is gen offset with banking. Offset plus carrying over the banked energy, which the customer is not able to consume within that month to the following month. Energy credit must be claimed within the financial year. So in this case, you will be generating your own electricity and feed back to the grid, but still not actually be able to claim or to get credit for everything that we have exported to the grid. You are allowed to take it forward to the following month. However, you must make sure that all the credit is being claimed within the financial year. Additional admin charge for each service agreement will need to be signed. For offset, the credit on the energy exported in a month is kept to the energy consumed, and customer must be a net consumer. So meaning you cannot consume, for instance, 100 kilowatt and then claim 150 kilowatt. So you can only be credited. The cap is to the amount that you have consumed. So you cannot be credited more than what you have consumed. For banking, the credit on the energy exported in a year is kept. Same thing applies. You cannot claim more than what you have consumed. Doesn't matter how much you have feedback on the system. Going to the next slide. The maximum export capacity. So maximum export capacity is the amount that you would have fed back to Eskom system. There is a limit. The individual maximum export capacity limit in a shared LV feeder is limited to the 25% of the customer's utility installed capacity. The nameplate power rating of the installed power conversion equipment is limited to 100% of the customer utility installed capacity. For the system equipped with energy storage system, the charging current measured on the AC terminals of the power conversion equipment is limited to a value equivalent to 25% of the customer's utility installed capacity. Note the NRS 097-2 series of specification specify the minimum technical requirement for LV generators connected to South African grid as aligned to the requirement of the grid connection code for renewable power plant connected to electricity consumption system or the distribution system in South Africa. Going to the next grid, sorry, next slide. Continuing with the maximum export capacity. In a dedicated LV feeder, the maximum export capacity is limited to a 75% of the Eskom UIC. The nameplate of the installed power conversion equipment is limited to 100% of the customer's UIC, which is uninterrupted. Let me, sorry, I don't want to stick to the abbreviations since I'm aware that most of our colleagues are not from Eskom. So UIC stand for Utility Installed Capacity. Sorry about that. So I want to stick to the full names. This presentation actually was an internal presentation, so I don't want to assume. So for the system equipped with energy storage, the charging current measured on AC terminals of the power system, the power conversion equipment is limited to the value of a value equivalent to the 25% of the customer UIC. Going to MV feeder, the total maximum export capacity supplied by MV feeder should be less than 15% of the MV feeder peak load. Going to the next slide. I spoke about the change of tariffs from your flat rate tariff to the time of use tariff. Under rural sector, these are available tariff. It's a rural flex gen. It will be for customers that are on land rate or land rate light or night save rural, and they will need to convert to rural flex or rural flex like I've indicated. Urban customers on business rate night save will be required to convert to mini flex or mega flex, and the minimum supply size limit for rural flex and mini flex tariff has been reduced to 16 kVA to cater for the single phase SSEG connection to be on the time of use tariff. Residential tariffs, we have home flex or mini flex. Customers on home power will be migrated to home flex. Customers on home light, 20 amps, land light, 20 amps, land rate, and public lighting do not have a time of use tariff options due to the very low consumption, and therefore PV integration cannot be accommodated unless the customer is willing to upgrade their supplier to the tariff above, starting from 16 kVA. Going to the next slide, which is our Q&A. I just made it, I just shortened a presentation because otherwise it's a very long presentation. So I thought, let me keep it short, but I'm willing to answer any question in case there's something that is not covered on the presentation, or yes, there's clarity needed on the presentation.
Sipu, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Chair.
Thank you, Sipu. Laura, there were a number of questions that were circulated by Maria prior to prior to the meeting. Did you guys get those questions?
Yes, we did. You can display those.
Do you
and
want
then
to
we can
do you
respond.
want to work through them? Do you want to work through them first, or do you want to jump right into the Q&As of the guys attending?
I will work in accordance with whatever is best for you. But I would propose, let's take the Q&A, from the, the members, and then we can, decide on the way forward.
Okay, cool. I'm going to, so in our previous meeting, I jumped into the texted messages first, but in this meeting, I'm going to swap it around, and I will quickly cover the hands as they're up. Graham White, yours is first. Do you want, can you activate your mic?
Good afternoon. Thanks for the presentation and giving us a little bit more information. If you could just clarify, and I think a lot of us are sharing this frustration, is when we send through applications, we don't get any response. And I'm talking about applications sent in 2022 already.
Laura, I'm not sure whether you or Sipa would be
Yeah.
taking the question. If you could.
Yeah. Okay, Carl, that'll be great. I think Sipo will be in a position to answer a large portion of the questions. He can take this question. Thank you. Sipo?
Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. There are so many ways, there are so many channels that the application can be submitted
I hear you, Sipo, but you're not getting a response, and this is part of the frustration. I've had my system installed for 2 years, sending through the application, and there's no response. So, and as an engineer, I have other clients who want to do the same thing, and I just turn around and say, well, I can't help you because Eskom doesn't respond.
Yeah, if I may ask, which email address did you use? Maybe I must double check, because actually
I've used customer services at Eskom. Customer services at Eskom, yeah. I've even contacted some individuals I know work in the department, and they have had no response. So yeah, and the ones on the application, yeah.
Sipo, maybe what we can do is maybe then distribute the correct email address, okay?
Okay.
And maybe to give you the comfort, Sipo and myself oversee the portfolio for the SSEGs. So the individuals that you would primarily be speaking to in terms of escalation would be Sipo and myself. But Sipo will then continue. He will provide you with the correct email address, where you can then also then direct your communication. Thanks.
Much appreciated.
And my apologies for all the inconvenience that has arisen. I will also distribute, I'll give Coral the opportunity also to share with you my mobile number as well as my email address. Thanks.
Thanks. And then just to follow up, so you fill in the you fill in the application form, and then you pay. Then they send you a quote, or you pay first with it, or just understand that process quickly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, firstly, we will send you the application form and send you the template for engineering letter or compliance letter. Basically, all the relevant grid code standards that the system must adhere to, they are listed there. So we will need someone who's EXA registered actually to sign it up front to say these are the grid code that the system will adhere to. That letter will be part and parcel of the application. Additionally, you need to attach the single line diagram indicating how the system is connected. And lastly, if the customer will not do it by himself or herself, we will need a proxy letter. So those 4 documents, they are sufficient for us to have a look in your application.
Simple. One last question. There's in the news, in the media, there's talk about you need a structural engineer to sign it off. Is that true? I can't see that would be relevant.
No, not structural engineer. Anyone who's EXA registered
I get the EXA registered electrical engineer.
Yes, can sign it off.
That's fine, but the media, the My Broadband, there's a lot of newspaper articles that are saying you need a structural engineer to sign it off.
No, that's not true.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Graham. William, your hand is up next.
Thank you, Carl. Sipo, you've given us some useful information. Thank you. But what we haven't covered is who does not need to register with Eskom. And I think there are probably 2 categories. Firstly, those who have off-grid systems, and secondly, those who are not Eskom direct customers. Is that correct?
Thank you for the connection. Yes, if you are not supplied directly by us, you cannot make an application to us. Secondly, if your system is not grid tied, your system is independent of our, it's a standalone system, or it's a backup system. You only use it when there is no electricity. You don't have to apply. However, you need to come forward. What we do, we give you a declaration form whereby you are indicating on that form to say your system is not actually grid tied, because we must keep a register of all these PV systems. And also it must be clearly, your site must be clearly labeled so that whoever comes on site can pick it up that actually you do have a PV system. But you don't have to go through the route of a SSEG application.
Okay, thank you. Why do you need to keep a register?
The requirement from NERSA, we need to know of all these PV systems. We are the custodian yes, we are the custodian of all the list of all these PV systems.
But that can't be the case if you're only dealing with systems that are directly connected to Eskom. People who are connected to the 254 municipalities, of which is the vast majority of residential customers, and for that matter, smaller business customers, are not connected to Eskom, and there's therefore no requirement whatsoever for Eskom to have any records of it.
William?
Is that not
Sorry,
correct?
William,
Yes, sir.
NERSA has instructed all utilities, which would include 177 municipalities that resell electricity, to keep a register of solar systems in their region. So Eskom would only cover the guys that fall under their account, and you'd have other municipalities that are supposed to keep a register of systems in their respective regions. The issue that you have is, out of the 177, probably only about 25 municipalities are administratively capable of keeping a record of this. Eskom has improved their processes, and they've improved their processes, and obviously the media thing has created quite a bit of a stir, but they are mandated from NERSA to keep a record. So it's not an Eskom only thing. It's all municipalities are supposed to be doing this, but they obviously don't.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Then the last question is, where do I get this declaration form from?
You can only get it from us. You just come to us. I've just shared my email address and indicate that we have got a standalone solar system. Then we will actually part and parcel of signing this declaration form. In case you find yourself, or there is a sign that actually your system is not grid tied, we will take you back to the form to say you declared that your system was a standalone system.
Okay. And is there a separate process to
But you
cancel
can
one's?
always, yeah.
Thank you. Is there a separate process to cancel one's Eskom connection?
If you can please repeat your question,
Is there a separate process to cancel one's Eskom connection once you have an off-grid PV system?
if you now want to get your system grid tied, if you want to move from
No. Put in the system and it's off-grid and you no longer require Eskom at all.
Yeah, no, that's a different process. You can always reach out to our call center to say you want to do away with our electricity. It's a separate process, not this one.
Okay, thanks.
Sipu, just for clarity, because you mentioned the difference between grid tied and off grid. We have a lot of guys on the call, which would probably be most of the guys on the call would have hybrid inverters, and a hybrid inverter in many conversations that I've had are incorrectly assumed to be an off-grid inverter. So when a hybrid inverter is charged from an Eskom supply, even if it has a changeover switch, but there is some form of connection from the Eskom supply, that is not considered to be an off-grid system. Is that correct?
We had a case like that, so we had to go on site, invited our guys from network engineering, and then the system was tested. And actually, you are 100% correct. So it is not actually. We see it as we agree that we take it as a grid tied system, because what normally happens once the battery are fully charged and there isn't much to do with electricity in the house, you find that electricity actually does go back and find its way back to our grid. So that particular customer must actually make an application for SSEG and then get it commissioned.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. I oversaw Driekus earlier on. Driekus, I'm sorry, there was a pop-up over your name. Driekus is next up.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Cool. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Super, for the meeting. All that I just have a question on is I've got a specific and a very custom situation happening outside Believesdorp. The client has got two meters. 1 meter is on a tariff of Ruraflex, and the other one is on a land rate 123. Obviously, regarding the Ruraflex, they don't need to adhere to any sizes of the system about restrictions and stuff, but which is a flat tariff, of course. But the land rate we would want to convert also to a Ruraflex so that he can savings on that as well. So the process to change the land rate to the Ruraflex, that tariff conversion, how long does that normally take? Is it a quotation process? Do you guys need to come out to site? How does that exactly work?
Okay, it's a process as much as it is a requirement for an SSEG application, but it happens outside our department. It doesn't take long. It shouldn't take more than a week to do that. It is normally done by the design technician. So in my experience, in cases like that, it doesn't take more than a week. Of course, it's dependent on the workload of that particular design technician, but it doesn't take long.
Okay. And what actually makes up the quote for that? Like, how do you guys quote accordingly on that? It's obviously a very specific type of answer that I'm looking for, but I understand if you want to answer it vaguely, but just what goes into that process when quoting for example, we've done that previously where a transformer was out in the field about 1 kilometer or 500 meters away from where the main distribution was. And Eskom actually quoted the client R500,000. So just in order to get an accurate figure for these type of clients, we would just like to get a specific answer or indication beforehand.
To be honest, it differs from one case to another, and I'm not sure if it can be actually known upfront until the technician goes on site. So it differs from one case to another, depending what is on site. So I'm afraid I can't give you an exact answer on that one.
Okay, and then lastly, what is the application that we use to do this tariff conversion? Is it just what is the document exactly called? What is the document exactly called to do this tariff conversion? Would you know?
I don't understand. I know that you must sign a new agreement.
A what agreement?
There will be a new agreement that will be signed if you change the tariff, an additional agreement. But to determine the amount, there's an internal tool that is called CAPCON, which just to determine depending on the scope of work that must be done. But what will happen once
also to add, Sipho, maybe in terms
Yes,
of
sorry.
just indicating to customer that we have an application. I take it, Carl, that you've communicated the application and the brochure, okay? These 3 documents that we requested to be circulated. If they haven't, I'll plead with Carl to circulate those. So it'll go through the application process, and through that application process, we would then determine the individual costings, as Sipho said, based on what's on site. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. That's all from my side.
So, Driekus, what has not been mentioned so far is that Eskom has different departments within Eskom. So when you send your application in and they've got to determine what it's going to cost to move a transformer, they first send your application to the engineering department to see whether the grid infrastructure would be able to handle that.
I see.
Then when that process is completed, they send it through to accounts, and then accounts looks at what has been invested on that line already, what needs to be recovered, what is the status of the account, and then it goes through to the next department. So it actually goes through a series of departments, and each department kind of has to sign the thing off. And that is why in some cases it sometimes takes quite a bit of time to get the response. Our experience has been that the response didn't take quite as much time as we anticipated, because we had someone from Eskom who was switched on and really managed the process very well.
I see. Yeah, I think that's the type of advice that I've been getting lately as well. Luckily, I've got also somebody working as a technician in the Eskom department at the Bellville branch. So normally I would speak to him and he would make the process a little bit quicker, or just give me better information than me going onto the website, physically trying to go through all of this information. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody's inputs.
Eskom has something called a grid division, and there are, I don't remember whether it's 7 or 8 grid divisions. It's important when you get involved in especially larger installations, to make sure that you have the contact details of the person responsible for the grid division, because they will be able to escalate the matter and make sure that it's dealt with correctly.
Cool.
Thanks, Trikus. Tanya, you're up next. Tanya, you are yes.
Yes, thank you very much. So my question is, we have quite a big customer base, it's residential. With the quotations being sent out, it normally includes because obviously customers on prepaid need to switch over to postpaid, which then means they are liable for an account deposit with Eskom. Some of them get a 3-month deposit and some of them get a 2-month deposit. I would assume this is risk-based based on the customer profile. I'm not sure. But what we have found is that generally motivates non-compliance from a customer's perspective. I just want to find out, because normally Eskom would have a deposit review process with their postpaid account holders to see whether the consumer needs to adjust the deposit and increase it. If a customer is registered then by the SSEG system and their consumption reduces, does this mean the reverse will apply, that if after 2 years their consumption reduces dramatically, will they then receive a portion of their deposit back?
Yo, Tanya, that was a loaded question. So is it possible for us to, so your question related to deposits, Tipo, can you answer this, or would you like Tanya to just clarify?
No, I can, because we had incidences like those, and then we inquired, we seek advice from pricing. So they said, instead of reimbursing the customer, let's rather leave it like that, just capture out on the system as a credit, in case the customer, maybe you'll never know in the future, he wants to, expand or do something bigger and start the process all over. So we were advised actually not to reimburse, but keep it as a credit on the system.
So would that then be a credit to the account, Bill? And if so, do you guys, is this just a discussion that you guys are currently having internally, or is this a plan that you plan to implement at some point in the future?
No, we treat it as case by case. It's not something that happens a lot. So if the customer inquires about it, then we address it at that time.
Is this something that I can take offline with you guys in a discussion? Because I know from our customer base, it's the majority of them, which would suggest, I think that would be good data to go off on how often you can expect this to happen going forward in future.
SIPO also cover in terms of the waiver of the quotation fee and the connection fee for those customers, the practice notes for those customers who find it not affordable, and then also the deposit that we allow for it to be paid over their 12-month period, as well as the report.
Oh yes, thank you, Laura. Our colleagues, there is Eskom has actually, it took a decision to waiver the connection fee for residential, for the customers that find themselves already having this system already operational, taking into account actually what prompted the customers to go this route. So the decision was taken that as for the deposit, we'll give them the extension of 12 months for the customer to pay the deposit. And as for the connection fees are waived for now. So the only fee, it will be a registration fee. So even it means that the customer, because you find that some of the customers, they've got old meters, so, and they need to be changed. So, but for now, though, all those things will be done without paying for a cost. I'm not sure if Laura, I've clarified it nicely. So the connection fees are waived, and the payment of the deposit is being extended for up to 12 months. We are giving you 12 months to pay for the deposit in case, because I must say not all the customers where you find that they must pay an additional fee when it comes to the deposit. But if that happen, we give them an extension to pay. We give them 12 months to pay that additional fee on the deposit.
Okay, thank you very much. Then my last question is that time of use tariff, has Eskom implemented this as yet or not yet?
You mean for residential?
Yes, for residential.
It is being implemented now, home flex tariff.
Okay. And then do you guys have a timeline of when you guys are going to start implementing penalties for non-registrations?
I think if I can leave that
Let me
one to
take
my
that
boss,
question.
Laura.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, I think you would have seen in the media, there's been some conversation around implementing penalties. However, we do believe that we haven't, exhausted all our options, to create the awareness and to educate, our customers. So yes, there's been talk of it, and in terms of implementation, it's somewhere way, way, way into the future. Way, way, something that we would not implement now unless we can then confirm that we have created strong awareness. We've got proof to do so before we implement. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all for me.
Thank you very much, Tanya. William, looks like William Ipafo. I hope I got your name right, William. Or maybe not. William, looks like you took your hand down. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I just got a question regarding following up on that off-grid standalone systems. On the SSEG application, it mentions that systems that are not in parallel with Eskom is excluded. And that definition, I think, just needs some clarity because, for example, if we have trolley inverters or uninterruptible power supplies for computers and server rooms, those are connected to the grid. But as soon as grid is lost, they switch over and they power the system. Therefore, it's producing energy, but it doesn't feed back. It can't feed back. And similarly now with some inverters, whether they are set up as that, whether they're hybrid or fully on grid, most inverters has settings to one, stop it from exporting, to only use batteries instead of grid to charge the batteries and only use solar to charge. Systems that are set up as such where they do not pose a safety risk to backfeed into the grid. Why and how are they handled in this situation? Are they then also seen as excluded as they are in series with Eskom grid and not in parallel?
Okay. Thank you, Chair. If I can come in. Yeah, like I've shared on my presentation. That setup is taken as a grid-tied system, whether there is a changeover or not. It is a grid-tied system. Whether it's backfeeding or not, it is a grid-tied system. So you need to make an application.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, a standalone system is completely independent of Eskom electricity, and that's a standalone system.
Well, then just on that system, I mean, if we're talking about systems that should be standalone, there's a plethora of systems installed. For example, the trolley inverters, they plug into a normal dedicated plug, or they can be wired into a dedicated little DB that's fed from Eskom or utility, wherever they might be on municipality terms. So they are technically also then grid tied, but they don't have the ability to feedback. So I mean, surely there would be no sense in registering such systems, because even if it's connected to grid via supply power point, it doesn't pose the same risk as why those registrations would be necessary.
William, can I quickly just say something in line with what you just said about plug-in the trolley inverters? According to legal requirements as per regulations, EIR and SANS, you are not allowed to connect your trolley inverter, plugging it into any fixed electrical installation in any manner. A lot of people do that, which is all totally illegal.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that. So then if someone would then take such an installation, as trolley inverters exist out of batteries and an inverter, most of those inverters are clones of those cheaper inverters you see. If you would take that inverter and install that as a dedicated system that gets
You're not
fed
allowed to. They are illegal to be installed in such a manner.
Harry, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to, mute your mic. This is about Eskom registrations, and the question that was asked was, what do they have to register them, and not whether they were legal or illegal. So the rules that we are looking at, are for small scale embedded generators. A UPS does not have the ability to become a generator, and a normal UPS does not have the ability to embed itself and feed power back onto the electrical network. There are lots of different types of UPSs available, so unless it's qualified or certified as a SSEG device, I don't believe it's necessary to register a UPS on the Eskom network.
Yeah, a UPS is a UPS. Yeah, a backup power, like it's a backup generator. You don't have to, but if it is embedded, and then there is a switch over in between, you need to register. But a UPS, it's a UPS. You must just sign in that declaration form.
So just to be clear then, Sipo, if your system is installed that such a manner that, I mean, just to go back one step, you get UPSs that takes Eskom power and it goes down to a lower voltage for batteries, and then that steps back up to your output, so that the output is always a clean 230, 240, whichever is set for your computer systems. So in essence, it doesn't just bypass the batteries and give Eskom directly. I mean, that's an online UPS. So it takes power in from Eskom just to charge the batteries at the low voltage, or keep the low voltage at the right level for the output to be on the consistent 230 volts to avoid brownouts, etc. And as soon as utility drops, the batteries takes over, but the power is always coming from the batteries, right? Now, that system can't backfeed because it's a UPS. Now, in the same sense, you do get inverters where you can set them up to act exactly as such. So it has an Eskom supply or utility from whoever's municipality. And as soon as power drops, it continues giving power, and there's no drop, no drip, because it always inverts the power. But should the inverter not have enough power, it can bypass eventually and do a changeover and then supply whatever is on the output via Eskom. So there's no mixing of power. So there's no potential for power to go back into the grid and pose that safety risk. So I'm talking more of that inverter systems that are installed as such as an uninterruptible power supply, but that continuously produces power from its batteries and might even have solar panels connected. Would that then still need to be registered, as that is also a UPS?
William,
It sounds like it's embedded.
Yes.
It sounds like it's embedded.
If it says inverter on the box, it's registered. If it says UPS on the box, it's not registered.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Tabang, you're up next. Guys, we have 15 minutes left. It would be good and in everybody's interest if you can keep your questions short, please. Tabang, are you there? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you. I only have two short questions. You've mentioned the charges, different fees that customers will be charged, from the quotation fee going down to the connection fee to the network. Now, my question is, during times where the grid is not available for a lengthy period of time, can the customer, will the customer be credited for that time, because already they are paying for the network that is not available? Do they get paid for that? And the second question that I've heard is, if you've mentioned the feeding back to the grid limit. So if on the same transformer, on the same line, we have a number of customers that have solar system and are feeding to the same transformer, how will that work? I just need clarity, because you said 25% of the customer can only feed 25% of the installed capacity, but they cannot feed more than 75% of the transformer capacity. Just those two questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tabang. If you can go back to your first question, if there is no Eskom power, can the customer be paid? Can you clarify that question?
Yes, the customer already, I'll clarify. Say the customer is already paying for the network.
Due to the fact that this was incorrect.
The network fees, the customer is paying for the network fees, 100%. But we don't have that network available, maybe due to a fault, cable theft, or maybe a transformer bend on the Eskom side. Do the customer get in that situation? Do they get credited? Is it a one-way? Is it a one-way situation, or it's both ways? Thank you.
Okay. Firstly, the customer will pay for the quotation fee, which I've indicated that is the fee just to get the application registered, put it on the system, and start allocating resources, and technician go on site to do some investigation or capacity study. So that's one. The second one is the connection fee. A connection fee is dependent on the scope of work that must be done in order for your system to be connected to our network. So it's a connection fee, not a network fee. It's a connection fee. It's a once-off fee that you pay for the scope of work that need to be done in order for your system to be connected to our grid. So it's once off. That's it.
Thank you. Then the last one, I'll come to our second one. The last one, you said if the customer consumes, if the customer is consuming less than, I don't know what you said, they cannot be credited if they're consuming less than what they export. Can you clarify on that one? You said if they are consuming less than what they export, they cannot be credited.
Okay, all right, okay. No, I understand. Okay, so for instance, let's say you have got a 500 kilowatt system, and we are consuming, for instance, 300 kilowatt from Eskom, and you are backfeeding 400 kilowatt. So we can only credit you up to the amount that we have consumed. So for instance, we have consumed 300 units, and you have exported 400. We can only credit you up to the amount that you have consumed. I'm not sure if it makes sense.
Yeah, thanks. Just a clarity on that one. Does that mean if I've got a system that is capable of just exporting to the grid more than what I can consume from the grid, I am
Yes.
not going to be credited.
The difference you won't be credited for the difference. We can only credit you up to the, remember, you are not selling to us.
Yeah.
That's why we are crediting you. So you won't make any money. I mean, we are not at the point. SSEG is not about customers selling to Eskom, but we can only credit you.
So all these fees are once off. All of them, they are once off.
Yeah. The fees are once off, but if you are exporting to the grid, there will be a monthly fee for that, admin fee for that, because now you are exporting to the grid. It involves an admin work to now do all those admin work to credit you and all that. There is an additional fee for that, and I did actually explain. Yes.
Explain. Yeah, that's what it is.
Bong, thank you very much. I'm going to have to move on to the next guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Elmarie, you're up next.
Hi there, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Laura, I just wanted to ask, maybe afterwards separately, may I have your email address just to ask you, because I work for a solar company, I do all of the SSEG registrations, and what's quite scared for me at the moment is that there's a lot of colleagues that I've worked through by Eskom through a couple of years that is going on pension soon, but there's no replacement training from them until they are still with Eskom. And that's quite concerning for me because we are losing a lot of Eskom employees with a lot of knowledge that's not being passed over to the next person, which is making our jobs a bit more difficult going through the application process than with a newly trained person, firstly. And then secondly, on the first question, that guy raises that we have some troubles with either Western Cape, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, if we submit SSEG applications on that platform. I submit over 100, 120 applications already that I have a lot of approved applications, but the process only flows for me if I CC in a custom exec. If I only do the normal process that I go through the Western Cape or Eastern Cape or whatever region, it's almost like I'm talking to a robot and I'm just not getting any reference number communication from that platform unless I CC in a custom exec. And then lastly, when customers is on a Ruralflex tariff, and we can do an installation, a solar PV installation, there is some customers that's in an area where there's no network or the towers can't communicate, and those time of use tariffs needs to be read manually each month. But that's restricting us on the solar PV side, if the customer wants to bank energy or not. Can Eskom maybe look in a way that we can install additional data channels to be able to communicate? Or is there maybe for those customers that have the network problems, a plan forward to get them because they do have the correct meter? Eskom can just not read it because of the surrounding towers or whatever.
Elmarie, so Laura has already indicated that she will be more than happy to share her contact details.
Thank you.
I find that if you CC in, if you submit an application or registration and you know of an office exec, then you always CC them in. Even if it's going to be Laura and Sipo in future,
Okay.
just keep the guys in CC, then at least you know you're going to get response.
Yes.
As far as the additional communication devices are concerned, from Eskom's side, that has to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, and it would be better to contact you. You're welcome to contact Laura directly after the meeting
Perfect. Thank you.
submit the site information to where you are having issues, and then you guys can see how you can take it forward.
Perfect, thank you. And then my last question is that obviously with the SSEGs, we do a lot of tariff changes, and a lot of other NMD upgrades or whatever. I know that you guys had troubles with contractors by September last year, where you did a new contract, and then I think they started late early this year. Has that all been sorted out? Because most of our projects is now on a backlog because there was no contractors to do work.
Sorry, which area is that?
So that's Eastern Cape and Western Cape.
Sipho, let me take this question. What we will do is we will consolidate all the questions and we will respond, and we will ensure that we streamline, the contactability and the escalation to make it easier for, all the colleagues in terms of who can I speak to, how do I direct, who do I follow up, so that your queries, you'll be able to
Perfect.
streamline the process, and it will relate to all the provinces, so that when I have my application form, where do I send it? Who do I then follow up with? If I need to escalate, who then do I escalate to? So that will be made available.
Thank you, Laura.
Guys,
I'm done.
Thank you, Elmarie. I see Mpe, so Mpe works at Eskom, and I see he just texted or left a whole lot of contact details in the chat box. You guys are welcome to have a look at those contact details. That's some great resources right there. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Bo, you're up next.
Thank you. Okay, let me quickly. I'm going to ask. I've got two questions. I'll ask them simultaneously. The first question is, I think it's reasonable to say that until Eskom has got an online registration system and can respond to reasonable or reply within reasonable response times, it would not be reasonable to prosecute residents for operating an illegal system. So the City of Cape Town had the same problem, and I approached them, the MACO member for energy, and said this is unreasonable. If you can't guarantee response times, you can't prosecute. And they instituted a moratorium on prosecutions if you can provide evidence that you submitted documentation and had SSEGs, had commissioning tests were done by a professional engineer. Does Eskom support that view? And can somebody be approached to institute such a moratorium? That's my first question. My second question is, the City of Cape Town has put in a lot of effort to maintain a list of approved inverters. Does Eskom also acknowledge this list? Thank you very much.
I'll take the first question. The moratorium, it's something we can look at, and I will then respond formally. I wouldn't want to make a decision just yet without consulting, but I've captured your query under your question under moratorium, and I will include it as part of my response. Sipho, will you take the second question?
Thank you, Rola. If you can please repeat your last question, sorry.
City of Cape Town has got a list of approved inverters. So you don't need to submit all your type approval documentation together with your application. You just say, I'm using this inverter. And if that inverter is in their pre-approved list of inverters, they automatically approve the inverters. Will you acknowledge that list as well?
No, we are not at that stage yet. That decision has been not taken yet. So we still go on site and test that the system is not backfeeding. So we are not at that stage where we can just
So sorry, I just
take
want to clarify. It doesn't exclude
Yes.
the anti-idling test. You still have to do that, but this just means that the inverter meets all the specifications.
Okay, no, I'm aware that they, because in the past there was a requirement for an isolator, a dead grid isolator. So, but now instead, if you get a certificate that the inverter is capable of actually doing that, so we have taken that into account. So we have removed the requirement of an isolator. But the whole process still happens. We still go on site. We still go and witness the commissioning, something like that. What has happened, we no longer need the isolator, because in the past we would want to see a physical isolator.
Thank you.
Guys, technically, 2:30 is the time that the meeting was scheduled up until. So theoretically, I think it's obvious that we're not going to get to everybody's questions. I see we have 99 plus chats in the chat box. The only thing we can do, because it's going to be easy for us to spend another half an hour on covering questions. Laura, yes.
I would propose, Coral, with everyone's approval, if everyone could then record their questions in the chat bot, in the chat, and then that we set up a follow-up session. As I indicated, it's one of many sessions that we'll have, so that we then able to respond to the questions outside of our Zoom meeting. And then we also cover further questions that might have arisen outside of today's meeting.
Laura, I think that's a great idea. Would we be able to would we be able to schedule another meeting in, let's say, about 2 weeks' time, and then we can make sure that we cover most of the questions out of this one, and then whatever overflow there has been, we'd be able to deal with in the next one. So I'd like to, for example, make sure that your contact details and the contact details that Mpe has.
And if they are, Coral,
Yes.
Coral,
Sorry?
if there are any pressing or urgent outstanding queries related to applications, just I would encourage the colleagues to then forward that through to Mpe, I'm saying to Sipho and myself, so that we can follow up. So we don't have to wait for 2 weeks for some urgent matters that need to be dealt with. Thanks.
I think that is excellent. So we will share the contact details if you are comfortable with that. We'll share the contact details with the people that have registered, as well as a link to the video recording, and they can then contact you for urgent matters, or alternatively join us again in 2 weeks' time. Yes. Laura, I'm assuming that's what you said. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for a constructive meeting. A lot of information has been shared. We will share the link to the recording with everybody that had registered. Any urgent matters, you would be able to contact Laura and Sipho directly. And then they will obviously redirect you to the right contact to be able to deal with your inquiry. Unfortunately, I have to end the meeting, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Thanks, Laura and Sipho, for the presentation and the valuable information that's been shared. And sorry to the guys that have had their hands up and been in the queue for quite a while, guys. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of you.
Thank you to Coral, and thank you to the members of the association. This is the beginning of the journey. As I said, we'll walk together on this journey. Our contact details are in the chat. So you're welcome to engage with us directly. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Sipo. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.